The Batman. It is a spectacular, formidable entry into cinema. I love this film. It is beautiful. Every shot, every frame, it's like it just jumped out of a comic. I knew from the moment I saw that very, very first trailer at the DC fandom, I knew we had something special. Because mind you, Matt Reeves had only shot maybe 25% of the film because due to COVID. And that 25% was just spectacular. It was amazing. And it gave me the feels that I used to have when I was a kid. Like when I first saw Batman and Batman Returns. And I never thought I can feel that again. And that trailer did that. And this movie did that for me. Everything about this film was just, I don't know. It was just like, I couldn't believe it. It was like, this film is not a comic book movie structurally speaking. I want to say that again. It is not a comic book movie structurally. Keyword structurally. But it has the most Batman-isms that the fans have always wanted to see. And I stopped myself from saying it's the most Batman movie ever because I know a lot of people, one of the biggest complaints about the Nolan films were that they were great films to some people, but they were not Batman films. I disagree. I feel like those were Batman films. Even the Batman Robin films or Batman films. I think there's room for all of it. These characters are going to go through many iterations, and I don't think it's fair to say which is Batman, which is not. I mean, if we're going to go back to the very first roots of Batman from the 1930s of the comics, and that's a totally different character then. So I hate when people say that. Robert Pattinson, I love a person who can prove people wrong. I love a person who's been doubted and denied and talked about and criticized, and then they just make the best FU possible. And he did that. I don't want to say where I rank him at just yet because I plan on doing a video with my favorite Batman, but he is in my top 3. Robert Pattinson, his performance isn't anything like he doesn't have that rage, or he doesn't have that aggression like Ben Affleck has. He doesn't have that he doesn't have that craziness that Michael Keaton has, but what he has is this kind of subdued, calm presence, the way he looks, the way he talks. But it's Batman. It's the Batman that you would expect. But where his anger and his rage come out is when he's fighting. It's through his actions. And I never thought, it's hard to convey emotions through a mask, but he conveyed you felt everything he was feeling as he was that character. And the thing about this film is, when you go into this film, he is Batman pretty much, I want to say 85% of the time. That has never happened. I don't think with any comic book movies, a character has stayed in costume for the majority of the film. And what I enjoy about it is that he's struggling with not being Batman necessarily, more struggling with being Bruce. And I love that evolution because we've always seen him kind of struggle with being Batman. But we've never really seen him struggle necessarily so much with they never dive into it. And even when he talks, he kind of goes back and forth with, when he's Bruce, he kind of has that Batman voice, and he goes in and out. But the way he does it, his performance is just, I feel like it's award worthy. And he's definitely proving you haters wrong. Seriously. But the heart of this film is him and Selena. Zoe Kravitz, she's not yet Catwoman, but she's becoming her. We see the fruits of those. We see the seeds being laid for her to be fully Catwoman if there's another sequel to this film. But the heart is her because she gives him a different side of humanity. She gives him the emotions that he felt like he never had. And she breaks those walls down. And when they're together, it's magic. It's a beautiful thing. I think this is the best portrayal of Batman and Catwoman. That dynamic. And I can't wait to see how it evolves in future films. It's the bread and butter of this film. It drives this film. This film is paced perfectly. From the beginning is like a horror. The film has a lot of horror elements in it, but the beginning is I'll say this, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a scene in The Ring, the American version, and it's not the one she crawls out the TV. It's another scene it was scary, and there's a scene in this film that reminds me of that. It's like, yeah, and I'll just leave it at that. But Matt Reeves has went into this film knowing exactly what he wanted to do, and he did it. He didn't have, I don't see any studio interference at all. It is completely his vision. It is completely a detective noir. It is like, it takes you on the ride from the very jump and all the way into the end, and where it wraps it up, and it's a great closure. His film is just what it is. It's not setting up for any sequels. Mind you, there are seeds, there are Easter eggs, or whatever you want to call it, but that's not the main focus. That's not the main focus, is to tell this story and wrap it up. And I can see the things and certain things that was laid bare, or laid, for those for a sequel rather there, but it's not something. It's not going to take your entire attention from the film. It's there, and it's hinted at it, and that's how you're supposed to do it. Matt Reeves pretty much has set the groundwork for him becoming one of the best directors in this generation. I know people are complaining with these crazy fans talking about, I want to see the fantastical, using these buzzwords, fantastical or too grounded. Listen, Matt Reeves did Cloverfield and he did Planet of the Apes. Both films have fantastical elements, but he somehow made it grounded as well. You're able to do all of it. And I don't know why we live in this crazy reality, or this crazy time where people feel like you can only do one thing. There is no room to, you can't do both. It's been done before. You can do all of those. You can use all of those elements and keep it grounded and keep it the way he wants to do it. And I feel like Matt has expressed before that he wants to, dive into those characters. Like, I would love to see Clayface. I would love to see the ventriloquist. I would love to see the Course of Owls. There's a whole bunch of characters. Mr. Freeze, and I feel like he would do it. But right now, this film, every character, every person, Paul Danos as Riddler, you can see the element of the comedicness that we're kind of used to, as far as mainstream wise, is the Riddler there, but his performance is great. He hides in the shadows. You don't even have to see the Riddler, but it's the things that he's doing, these traps. It's based off of Saw, it's based off of Seven. You see the David Fincher inspiration in this film, but it is his performance. He was scary. He was a villain. But you somehow understand why he does what he's doing. You don't like the way he's executing it, but you get why he's doing it, and you kind of feel where he's coming from. But everything that he's doing is so related to what we're facing right now in society with there's how people is choosing sides and choosing or getting radicalized by, being tired and sick and tired of being sick and tired. And this film did that. It touches on subjects of privilege. It touches subjects on rich and poor, and what really is an orphan, because so many times we talk about Bruce being an orphan. And that too is tested, and I'll just leave it at that. It's all these things that you just was like, oh, you didn't see this, you didn't think a Batman film can do this, and it can, because Batman is in so many parts, a grounded character that's warped in reality. I think that's why people love him so much. I think that's why people relate to the character so much, because there could be someone who can just be a vigilante and just make a costume and kick somebody's ass. But this film, from the Penguin, Colin Farrell, he doesn't even look like himself. Everyone brought their A game. Everyone brought their A game, and I can't say much more about it. I just felt like this film, in my opinion, I feel like it's going to be considered one of the greatest films of all time, and I really feel like it will be considered the greatest comic book film. No doubt about it. Maybe too early to say that, but I just feel like I saw something that was ahead of its time. And Batman has always been the films There's kind of like raised the bar when it comes to comic book films. Each time it's come out with, starting from the Tim Burton to the Nolan, and now this, it has risen the bar, in my opinion. If you're going into this film thinking you're not going to get action, it is action. But it's finely paced. Because one thing I hate sometimes with comic book movies is that it can be, the action can be kind of everywhere. It doesn't make sense. Everything about this film is finely executed. Everything is built. It builds up. Matt Reeves know how to pace a film. He know how to build suspense. If you don't know Matt Reeves, check out his Planet of the Apes films. He knows when to place and map things out. He maps it perfectly with either where it's with the action with Batman or his relationship with Selina, the detectiveness, the mystery. All of that is finely paced. The action is great. The only criticism I can say maybe is probably some of the CGI, and there's not a lot, mind you. There's not a lot of CGI, but some of the CGI didn't feel finished, and that can be up for abundance of things. But what I do appreciate in Matt Reeves used a lot of practical effects, because I feel like a lot of comic book movies is just becoming animated films, and that's where I kind of check out, because I want, when I think of comic book films, I always just thought about if they did come to the cinema or they did come to the theaters, I wanted to see real people playing these characters. I don't want to see animation. And Matt Reeves uses practical effects, and he uses CGI when it's appropriate to fill in those voided pieces, or to make it feel like a whole world, which he did with Gotham. You know, Chicago, New York is probably the top biggest metropolis settings with buildings and towers and stuff. But what he did is he brought both those together and mixed in some London and created something else. But this Gotham feels constrained. It feels claustrophobic. It feels dirty. It feels like Gotham that we've seen in the comics and the animation films. And that's a segue into this. The animation films, like, okay, there's a lot of nods to the past films, I can tell, and even with the old 60s TV show. But there's a lot of inspiration from the Batman animated film, animated show from the 90s. I've seen, I witnessed in this film. It is, and I'm happy with that. Because the animated show from the 90s was probably one of the best, if not the best, animation show of all time. And I appreciated that Matt kind of like took all that as inspiration. He created something that I can't stop praising. Like, I will be seeing this film at least about 2 or 3 times next week again. You can say what you want about the 3-hour mark, but it goes by. It flows. Like, I would say take your little bathroom break, or use a bathroom before you watch it, and pace your beverages, and you'll be fine. But it doesn't weigh or doesn't feel long. It's long, but it doesn't feel that way. It's finely paced. Like, I love this film. I love this film. I can't stop praising it. I am happy. I can't wait to see what comes from this. I know Matt Reeves is good with kind of time jumps where it feels natural, because he did that with the Planet of the Apes. I can't wait to see where this Batman ends up, where we're gonna find him, and who he'll be up against. You know, I don't really have any criticism of it. I would just say maybe Alfred takes a backseat a little bit in this film, but even then, like, this is a different Alfred Bruce situation, like, and that was enjoyable, because usually when we see Alfred and Bruce, they're kind of like, they're not just a team, but you can see the partnership. You can see the father-son relationship they have there. But this one, Alfred and Bruce are not really in the best place. There's a separation there, and this is different. And everybody brought their A game. I don't think no one gave a bad performance. Again, visually, this film is beautiful. The motifs of seeing the red, the whites, the blues, the flashing lights, the theme song. Oh my God. The theme is, I never thought someone would be able to beat the original Danny Elfman theme from the Tim Burton films and the animated show, but this, oh god, it's used constantly through the film. First of all, so it's gonna be stuck in your head. But this is, listen, everything about this film was perfect, and I know there's no such thing as a perfect film, but this was a film through and through. This was cinema from the arc, and you're gonna hear a lot of people say that with the the story arc and all these words that we learned in film school. But there is a arc. Everyone gets their arc. Everyone gets a chance to get to do. Matt Reeves gonna handle villains, okay? So I wouldn't be upset if Matt Reeves kind of like have a rogues gallery like he did in this. Where he had 4 villains. Like, he knows how to pace things. His placement of things is perfect. And I think this is the first time I've seen a comic book film where they can have multiple villains and they execute it properly. Everyone get their just. So, yeah. I can't praise this film anymore. I can go on and on and on and on and on. Guys, this was my first review back, and I pray that you guys go see this film. You know me, I'm honest. Even if I love a film, even if I'm excited about a film, you know me, I'm not gonna sit up and lie to you. I will let you know, like, I was disappointed. But this film, I went in this film excited, and I left out even more excited and more inspired. Like, I want to meet Matt Reeves. I just want to shadow Matt Reeves. I just want to absorb all that he knows. I feel like Matt Reeves is becoming a great. Like, he's going to be one of the greats of our time. And yeah, guys, that was going to do it for my video. Please check it out this weekend. See it with your family. See it with your friends. You're going to love this film. This film is amazing. Amazing. This is like a great start to 2022 for our cinema goes. This is a movie. This isn't just a comic book film. This is a movie, and you're gonna love it. So I would check you guys out in my next review, my next video. Appreciate you guys welcoming me back. If you're new to this channel, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Peace.